Alright guys, Statistical here today, and Attach has officially joined Evil Geniuses. A lot of other confirmed changes in the last day or so as the pre-Fort Worth roster period is officially over, or roster change period I should say. So I'll go through all the changes that we've seen so far, the things that aren't officially confirmed, but they're basically confirmed as far as what I've heard. So yeah, we'll go through all of those today, then I'm going to talk more in depth about Attach to Evil Geniuses because, well, it's an interesting change. I'll go over a few of the changes in the next few days in the lead up to CWL Fort Worth, which starts on March the 15th in, of course, Dallas, Texas. So like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always. Closing in on 10k. I think I'm going to do at least a Q&A for 10k. If you guys have any other sort of content ideas when I eventually hit that goal, then yeah, please leave them down in the comment section below. So let's get straight on with the video. Yeah, let's just go through some old announcements. So yeah, Dylan CoD to Reciprocity was one of them. Enigma 6 have confirmed that Chino is going to be coming into the team instead of Cade, of course, which we talked about as a rumor a few days ago, but that is now official. E United confirmed that Simp is going to be their substitute. So of course, they left a long time to announce this, I think because, as I talked about a couple of days ago, there were these rumours that maybe one of the players on the team would be out the door and potentially Simp might be in, but he's going to be a substitute, so we'll have to see how this goes down the line. If one of the players or if the team in general doesn't perform at Fort Worth, I see it very likely that Simp will be heading into the team for one of those players. And then UYU confirmed that Beezy is going to be joining them as a substitute. They also confirmed that Parzelion is going to be in the team instead of Skies. I'll go into that in just a second here, but also they released Spoof as their sub, bringing in Beezy. This gives him a nice opportunity to prove himself in terms of, you know, what he can perform in terms of the streaming side of things, how much he can build his own brand. UAU are hopefully going to give him a nice platform to be able to do that and give him the best possible chance to get into the franchising system next year. Then of course we have this confirmation of Parzelion going to UYU, and then we have this one, Midnight Esports, baby. Now this is very interesting, of course. Envoy supposedly going on to Gen G, Parzelion, as we just talked about, to the UYU team. And then we have Brack, Llama God, and Jet Li to decide where they're going to go. Now, Llama God is going to stay on Midnight alongside Parasite, Saints, Lacefield, and Blaz. So these guys are going to walk right into a 5-in-1 league spot. I'll talk about this team definitely in a couple of days' time, but very interesting indeed. I just thought I'd mention it briefly. And then we have this. Supposedly, the team on Accelerate is going to be Brack, Emery's, Profizi, Jet Li, and Skies. So, well, I mean, that seems like a bit of a mishmash. Accelerate clearly haven't done as well in terms of how many big names they've got on their team than Midnight have after all the debacle. And yeah, once again, I'll probably go through this team in a few days' time. This, of course, is the change we're going to be talking about today. Evil Geniuses picking up Attach. Now, Facento retired a few days ago. I talked about that in another video. I'll link that down in the description box below. Now, Crimsix did a video yesterday called A Message to Pro Players. He talked about contracts. He talked about stuff like that, you know, agents, things that he'd had issues with in his career. Talked about it in relation to the Accelerate and the Midnight situation. But in that video, he talked about the fact that 9 teams are supposedly making changes out of 16. And here, if we exclude the E United picking up Simp, which might be the 6.5 he talked about in the video, there's only 7 teams we've discussed. So that leaves 2 other teams potentially making changes. Envy did a tweet yesterday, you know, giving away something, and they mentioned all of their current team in there, which kind of implies that Envy are sticking together, which is what we've heard. Not yet confirmed, of course, though, because yes, the roster change period has ended, but it only means that the teams have to submit their roster to MLG. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to announce it to the world as yet. So there's still going to be some teams that have changed, but as far as it is right now, all the changes that I've discussed are the ones that have been confirmed. And you know, maybe Crimsix was getting carried away, or maybe there's some changes that we haven't foreseen. It will be very interesting. But this change, of course, attached to Evil Geniuses, this is a loan move. So keep in mind, one interesting thing about this move is that he's joining on loan from FaZe Clan, which, you know, FaZe Clan didn't end up buying one of the league spots. They apparently had the opportunity to maybe buy the Accelerate spot, but they decided no, because I guess if you buy the spot, it's relatively cheap, I guess, in terms of what franchising will be next year to buy a spot at the current time. But then you've got to consider you've got to pick up players, you've got to pay them salaries, and like maybe it's just better to save your money. So FaZe Clan haven't done that, and the fact that they've given out Attach on loan here does heavily imply that they want him still to be under the FaZe Clan brand when they try and get their franchising team next season. That's what it implies. Maybe they're just keeping on loan because it's better for them, that they can maybe have leverage if, well, EG want to make another change, they can bring Attach back to their brand and then loan him out somewhere else, potentially seeing how things go with this team. But it definitely implies the fact that they haven't completely sold him, that at least FaZe do want to still see their presence in Call of Duty going forward to the franchising league, which I guess was obvious, but, you know, reading between the lines a little bit. Attach says the following here: thankful for this opportunity opportunity to compete under Evil Geniuses for the rest of the Black Ops 4 season. So he's confident he's going to be with them for the entirety of the season. I didn't leave FaZe, I'm being lone. Thanks for all the support, and I'll see you guys at Fort Worth. So, was this change a good one? Firstly, let's consider Facento is the guy out of the team. He retired, maybe he'll go to the analyst desk, maybe he'll become a coach, maybe he'll become a general manager of something or other. I haven't heard too much about that, but yeah, he decided to retire. As I said, I made a video about that a couple of days ago if you guys are interested. Attach is the man coming into the team. Firstly, was Facento the right man to go off the team? The squad, of course, is Goonjar, Exotic, Royalty, and Felony. I think Facento was probably the guy to go. If you look at his statistics from the Pro League, it didn't make the best viewing. These are the statistics courtesy of EasyMac. I'll leave these down in the description box below as always. And yeah, his KD overall modes was not spectacular. That overall KD of 80, there's only 80 players in the league, right? 16 times 5. So that's literally the worst KD in the league. Quality stuff. Now, of course, Facento, as I said, during the Jetpack era, he was a monster player. He had those crazy clutches. I made a little bit of a tribute to him towards the end of that video I did the other day. But he really wasn't performing in the Pro League. In terms of the guy that you were looking for as an upgrade, considering these guys are 1 in 6, we'll look at their records in a second, I think Facento pretty much was the obvious target to go. And yeah, he decides to retire. This was their performance at the Pro League, not good. 1 in 6. If you look at their record right here, got beaten by Opta Gaming, losing a game 5 to LG, lose to Midnight, obviously they can't play themselves, lose to UIU. The only match they won was their very final one against Reciprocity. They really were looking slow, and then they lose to Genji and lose to Red Reserve. So 1 in 6 early record. Their map count as well was pretty tragic compared to even the teams that were slightly above them. So e.g. if there was a team that needed to change, I definitely think they should have considered one. Now, they could have changed more players. There were rumours maybe that even Felony and Goonjar were potentially out the door, but that didn't end up happening here. They've only made one change for Sento for Attach. EG were an interesting team because of the Pro League qualifier, they went 5-1, beating UIU and Red Reserve, who they ended up losing to in their group, of course, at the Pro League. And then at Vegas, they had a very solid run as well. They go 3-1 in the pools. Once again, they managed to beat Red Reserve and UIU that they were matched up in the same division as at the Pro League, and then they lost to them. So, well, definitely deteriorated over time, I could say. And I think a large part of it was that the PLQ for Sento was fantastic. We'll have a look through some of the stats in a second. Really dropped off by the time it came to the Pro League. But yeah, they ended up placing top 8 here at this event. So top 8 was definitely a respectable finish. And going into the Pro League, I think on Gamepedia we had them something like 6th in the power rankings because they placed top 8 at Vegas and they'd done very well at the Pro League qualifier. So it was kind of difficult to justify putting them too much below that. But as it turns out, they really weren't the best squad. Of course, they're bringing in Attach. This guy's a former world champion. He won an event last year at Stage 1. A very well-known player. Has got a big brand on him as well, especially moving into franchising next year. This is the kind of guy you want to have on your team, even though, you know, he's under FaZe Clan on loan, but you never know how things turn out. He may end up going on to Evil Geniuses permanently, depending on how things with FaZe go. You never know. At least you've got that opportunity in your back pocket. So, of course, he won the World Championship back in Advanced Warfare when he was super duper young. Over the last couple of years, he's been a pretty well-known, solid player. People really know him as being really good, like 1v1 player in Search and Destroy. That's been one of his strong points. And yeah, let's have a look through some statistics here to compare these players. Now, in terms of the roles, I think this change does make sense, right? Because Facento was using the SMG on some maps, but mainly he was a Maddox towards the end. Exotic and Royalty really were using the SMGs. Goonjar, of course, is their main AR. And then their other player in Felony was kind of, he's a very aggressive player as well. He was going back and forth between the Sorg and the Maddox as well. So Attach can fit nicely into his comfort zone, I guess. He tends to be more of a slower player. People have talked about he's kind of too slow to play with an SMG, so he'll probably fit quite nicely into a Maddox role, and that's what I think he'll be using here, with the other 3 guys on the team going super aggressive, because EG really did set up their team as a really SMG heavy team, and bringing in Attach as well kind of adds to the aggression, which I think is a good thing overall. And in terms of firepower, he should be better as well. Of course, there are some concerns, so to look at some statistics here, these are the KDs from the PLQ. I'll leave these down below as always in the description. And yeah, Facento 1.11. I think this really was the reason why they could do so well at the Pro League qualifier, managed to go 5-1, even though their team wasn't that great. It's because Facento was going off in compared to his normal self. 1.11 over 20 maps, he was harkening back the years a little bit. And then we have Attach here at a 0.97 over the tournament. He played 37 maps though, so yeah, and then they'd kind of changed up their team a bit. They had Selly. I mean, it was a weird environment really for FaZe. But yeah, Attach was statistically worse than Facento at this event at least. Then at Las Vegas, going back a fair bit, he had a 1.07, so just for comparison here really. And yeah, Facento had a 0.76, a at Vegas, kind of similar to what you've seen from him in the Pro League. This is kind of the level you would expect him to be at. So it definitely looks like an upgrade on paper in terms of statistical standpoint. And yeah, in terms of search and destroy, I was looking at this. He had Attach had like a 0.9 at Vegas, and Vicento had a 0.7. So, you know, Attach seems a little bit of an upgrade on paper, and in terms of his achievements, it does seem to make sense. Now, of course, there are some concerns with this move. Attach has been on FaZe for years. He really doesn't have any prior experience with any of these guys he's going on to play with at Evil Geniuses. Of course, they do have the coach Revan as well, and that may be a benefit because Vicento definitely provided some leadership capabilities. I feel like Attach is kind of a guy to just go with the flow, you know. He's not the guy who's going to be super vocal in terms of, maybe he's vocal in game, but he's not going to be super vocal in terms of what issues they might be having, etc, etc. Vicento seemed to be a person who would go down that route. So I think there potentially could be a leadership issue within this squad because Goonjar, yes, okay, he's a veteran, but is he a leader per se? It's difficult to say. Exotic definitely has some elements of his character which push him towards that direction more, but I think it's really going to have to be Revan stepping up in that department because I think in terms of the leadership, as I say, Attach is a step down from Vicento in terms of the vocalness, but in terms of pure slaying power, it seems like Attach is an upgrade, but I don't think it's a crazy upgrade. I don't really think this is going to improve Evil Geniuses significantly. Their group at Fort Worth is as follows: 100 Thieves, Red Reserve, Enigma 6, and Evil Geniuses. So a tough pool for them. Now they're up against Red Reserve again. They've played them already so many times in this game. Red Reserve got the better of them in the Pro League, and yeah, we'll have to see how it goes with EG. I think this change should be a small upgrade. I don't think it's a major one. I still think that with Goonjar as your AR, you're going to have some struggles against the better teams and the better ARs in the game, put it that way. I don't think Felony is... I think Felony's an average player, but he's not spectacular. He kind of does his job, but is a bit inconsistent. Exotic and Royalty are generally very good. Exotic especially has been very good so far in this game. Haven't seen too much from Attach, to be honest, so far in this game to show that he should be a major upgrade over Vicento. Should be better in theory and on paper, but I'm not sure it will elevate this team to be able to get top 2 in this group, let's put it that way. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.